Welcome to Live Breathe Film, episode 108. You're here with Corey, Doug, and Murph. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Today, we'll be sharing our spoiler-filled thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you haven't yet caught it, turn this off right now. And then we're also going to be talking about what's next for the MCU based on Marvel Studios' Hall H presentation at Comic-Con. So let's dive right into our main two topics. We'll start with Deadpool and Wolverine, and then move on to the future of the MCU based on Comic-Con. So, obviously, this has been in the works for a while. Ever since Disney acquired Fox, we've been waiting for them to utilize Deadpool. And then I guess it was back in fall of 2022 where that Hugh Jackman was announced to return to the role of Wolverine. We now have our first R-rated MCU movie. We have our first full-on Fox X-Men MCU integration into the MCU. How did it hold up for you guys? What do you guys think? After all the anticipation and buzz, and after the slide that the MCU has kind of been in the up and down years of the Multiverse Saga.
I think for me, the biggest thing that has stuck with me is they somehow managed to surprise you in ways that you weren't expecting. The experience was great. Like I thought it was fantastic. But that piece was still. I'm still like sitting and mulling over it, like all the stuff that they surprised you with that really weren't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I think from my viewpoint, I mean, this.
Doug was clearly still mulling it over right there before starting to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've definitely been mulling it over a lot. I think it wasn't, and this is kind of like I guess a Marvel problem, but they tried to Feige kind of tried to imply like this movie was going to be impactful to the overall MCU.
He always says that.
Yeah, but I think he was like, they got him on a quote where he was like talking about like it being more impactful than No Way Home for the overall Marvel universe. I don't know if he got misquoted on that, but that's the quote that was kind of going around. And then it was like, I don't know if the movie really had any impact on the MCU.
No, it was more having an like yeah, you can bring back the characters later, but directly based on that movie alone, the impact was just on the Deadpool side
Right.
of things,
And then
and
his
more
universe.
on the Fox side of things.
I find
right,
that I find that interesting because I just wanted to. I don't know if you guys saw this, but like apparently, I think it was Sean Levy and him kind of had like a little disagreement during an interview where Sean Levy was like, "It takes place during in the Multiverse Saga," and Feige came back very quickly and he was like, "No, it doesn't. It takes place kind of in its own thing. It's not really set in any specific saga." And I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's weird.
I mean,
It's
it
very
feels
much
like it's part of the
yeah.
It's a
Very much
multiverse movie. TVA's even in it.
He was
how
like,
you
it's
say-
very-
Yeah, it's listed in the Multiverse Saga. Like it's
He came back very
everywhere.
quickly and he was like, it's its own thing. Like it doesn't really, supplant itself in one saga.
Yeah,
It was
I
a
mean,
weird comment.
I
And
thought
they
there-
clearly define when it takes place. Like if it's 6 years after Deadpool 2, it'd be 2024, or that'd be after the blip, or everyone returned from Endgame, or the same year everyone returns from Endgame. So I don't know. That just sounds like a whole like, is it time travel or is it multiversal travel? Like a disagreement with Endgame between Marcus and McFeely and the Russo brothers.
probably. Yeah, I mean, you had Logan stuff, which didn't take place yet. If we're in 2024,
Yeah, I mean the X-Men timeline just makes zero sense.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Technically Days of Future Past would be taking place that year.
Yeah. So I mean, you just can't really like focus on the timeline stuff too much.
Yeah, like in Deadpool 2, like he shows up at the X Mansion and it's the young X-Men characters. So like, is it the 1980s because it came out the same year as Apocalypse, but everything else is present day. So it legit makes no sense timeline wise.
Yeah, we lost Doug. I don't know. That's the piece that I guess the more you think about it, it kind of breaks down with everything going on. But I just thought that was such a weird comment. I didn't see it. I read it. I read about it, and you know, it.
We're gonna have to source check this and see the full quote and whatnot. Sounds weird that he would say that.
Yeah, it was weird. But I mean, as far as the movie's concerned, yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. I thought the plot had more twists and turns than I was expecting it to have. Yeah, I mean, I thought it did what it was supposed to do. I really had no problems with it really at all.
Yeah, I mean,
For the most part.
it was a fun movie. It was essentially it was a Deadpool movie, just more, just ramped up the stakes again, just like Deadpool 2 ramped up the stakes from the original Deadpool, which was pretty low budget, only a few action scenes, cut around a lot of flashbacks and origin story related stuff. And Deadpool 2 kind of went with a bigger budget and a more expanded cast and kind of branched out more as far as stakes go. But yeah, this one clearly went to a whole other level by bringing in Hugh Jackman, along with a boatload of cameos. But primarily it was a Deadpool movie. I mean, the focus was more on Wade, Ryan Reynolds' character, along with how everything. I mean, the story is entirely based on him trying to save his world and all his friends that have only appeared so far in Deadpool 1 and 2. And then kind of Logan is just this alt Logan who isn't the one we're used to. It's just sort of along for a ride, literally along for a ride, based on what was it? It wasn't technically a lie. It was a
oh my god. I
um,
forgot what he said.
yeah, I forget what the two-term expression was that he used when he got called out for being roped into the whole thing. So what was Deadpool saying or Wade saying that he wasn't lying to Wolverine about saving his planet? It was what was it?
Something wish, right?
Yeah, it was like wish or hope or
it was
a yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I mean that's the reason why you have your Wolverine in the movie. I would have liked to see more of the probably more scenes with Logan. Just
Educated wish.
Educated wish. Okay, yes, this is educated wish.
I looked it up. I
that he'd be saving this all universe's timeline, or all his friends in that timeline. But yeah, I really enjoyed Hugh Jackman's performance. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is fun as Deadpool as usual. I think he was like the most extra he's ever been in the role, which got a little grating by the end of it for me personally. Like when he gets to the point where he's like, all right, I promise there's only like 20 minutes left or something like that. I'm like, okay, this kind of feels like it's going like long. Because because comedies naturally just feel longer than, at least to me, comedies tend to feel longer than just straight up action movies. And as we talked about in our text chain yesterday, this was the most explicit comedy yet in the MCU. While they all are quippy as hell and have kind of destroyed the mid-budget comedy factory in Hollywood as far as films go, this one was by far the biggest comedy that they've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, it was nonstop
Yeah.
jokes.
So I would have been happier with some more stuff like what we got between Logan and Laura X-23. That was one of the highlights of the movie for me, along with scenes between Cassandra Nova and Logan where you're finding out what he's so like broken up about, and the serious scenes between Deadpool and Wolverine were some of my favorite stuff as well. When Ryan Reynolds kind of took a step back from the comedy and showed the serious side of Wade, the earnest side, the heartfelt side, and how much he really cares about his friends and what he's trying to accomplish. So I think I would have preferred a little bit more of that.
Yeah, there's definitely like and that's part of what I think because it was a comedy, the story somewhat gets a pass in some ways. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a story. The story could have been tighter.
Yeah. The more you analyze it, the story doesn't, like, I don't know how much it stacks up with making sense as far as what they've told us so far about the TVA and the multiverse and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Like, who's the anchor being of Earth 616?
I don't know.
I would have assumed it was Tony Stark, but the world would have been destroyed. It's not Captain America, or is he still an aging old man so the world's alive for a few more years?
And they didn't explain the idea of, like, I mean, anchor beings, they obviously are mortal, so they die. Like, what happens when they die? Does it get passed on to a new person? Or does that timeline just die when that person dies?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily get that.
It was a new concept, so I guess they just haven't.
I thought the TVA was done. Well, I mean, I guess Matthew McFadden's character, but Mr. Paradox, was going off the book. So, I mean, if he's destroying worlds, even on a or allowing worlds to be destroyed, I guess that doesn't contradict the end of Loki season 2, where they're sort of letting the multiverse branch out and Loki's holding the multiverse together.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the whole multiverse saga is full of nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the MCU probably hurt this movie rather than helped it. I mean, if they just knocked out the TVA, like, you didn't need the TVA, like we were talking about.
You could have just used Cable's machine.
Piece was fun, but like unnecessary.
Yeah, and
so
I'll let you finish it then.
I was just gonna say you just didn't really need the MCU pieces of it. Kind of convoluted it more than probably helped it, and they didn't really bring anything of value over from the MCU. So it was just kind of, I think, like he could have just been like, I just really want to do a buddy movie with Wolverine, so I'm just gonna go grab a Wolverine and
I'm just gonna use Cable's time machine, which apparently can bring me also to alternate universes and pull this guy over with me. Because you're right, there was technically no reason for the TVA other than to bring them to make it even more a part of the MCU.
Yeah, and then it just kind of created like a 2-villain problem where like neither villain got the chance to like fully shine because they were kind of like, well, who's the villain here? Is it McFadden or is it Cassandra?
Yeah, or is it Emma Corrin? I mean, Emma Corrin was clearly the like more serious and intense bad guy who you wouldn't want to mess with, while Mr. Paradox was ultimately like kind of a buffoon in like middle management in the TVA. But yeah, I guess neither of them truly does get to be fully, even despite a 2+ hour runtime, fully developed because there is so much going on in the film. I mean, the
Yeah.
movie's got ADHD just like Wade does.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have like a ton of focus. Like when the Deadpool, um, I forget what they're called. The Deadpool. What are they called? The group of Deadpools.
The Deadpool. What are the Deadpool cores?
Court, maybe. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. Just
by
all
the time
a
they
lot of
show up,
variants of Deadpools.
by the time they
that's
show up,
what they're
though, it's
called in
like,
the
what
comic,
the
but I don't know
what the hell are they? They just like pop in for like a quick fight scene with Deadpool and Wolverine,
Yeah, that
and
piece I
then
didn't. That piece I didn't understand. I understood that they were in the wasteland, I guess, but they were. Why did they attack? Why did they come to attack Deadpool and Wolverine? Try to stop them? Just because?
I couldn't answer that question for you.
yeah, it was just like they were trying to. They needed them in the movie,
Yeah,
so they just
yeah.
like pop in at one point. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like it definitely could have been a lot more streamlined. I think because a lot of the comedic bits hit for me. I think the story kind of gets a pass. Although I agree, it could have been like had they kind of refined the script a little bit more, it probably could have been like one of the. It probably could have been like one of the best Marvel movies. So it's a little bit frustrating and like, and I don't know if it's the right. I mean, they had their whole writer strike issue pop up, so I don't know if
yeah, and
that
then they had
hurt
a
the
lot.
movie.
They had a lot of writers as well. I mean, 5 people writing a film is always going to. It always kind of like worries me when I see so many names writing a film because it's like that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen versus Deadpool, which just had the 2 writers, and then Deadpool 2 added officially Ryan Reynolds. But I imagine he was like basically an uncredited writer of Deadpool based on the amount of improv the guy does.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then this one added 2 more writers to it. So it's a lot. And then you obviously have Feige, who's an unofficial writer, storyteller of everything in the MCU as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I put it on par with the first Deadpool movies. It's like right above being in the middle of the MCU for me of all the entries so far. I've updated my rankings. I had it at what I think I said 16 of 34, if I'm not mistaken, when I texted you, Doug, opening night. Um, so yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the film. I had a fun time with it, but yeah, it didn't shake up the MCU. I mean, it obviously leaves room for the TVA to come and be like, all right, Deadpool is worth bringing into the Secret Wars like situation in the future, or being an Avenger or something like that. But that's really all it did. It wasn't like No Way Home where it really reset the stakes for Spider-Man at the end, by him why nobody else knowing who he is anymore. Similar to how Far From Home, even though it wasn't a multiverse movie, set up the stakes for the following film by having everyone know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Those are 2 like groundbreaking like endings that set up the next chapter in the MCU. Well, this didn't do that as explicitly, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm not upset when things don't lead into other projects all the time and everything feels like a preview for something else. It's kind of nice when something has an actual ending to it. But just because this saga has been just like a fucking smorgasbord of throwing things at the wall and like just a total mishmash of things going absolutely nowhere up to these upcoming Avengers movies that we'll talk about when we get into the Comic-Con section, I guess
Yeah.
that would be the only reason why it would be disappointing.
So is this the end of the Multiverse Saga? I've literally lost track.
No.
Secret Wars will be the end.
This is not even the end of Phase 5, and the Multiverse Saga goes through Phase 6.
Okay. I mean, clearly here I'm an example because I like have completely lost track of where we're at.
Yeah, we probably have like 8 more movies in the Multiverse Saga and a bunch more seasons of television.
Yeah, I thought this was gonna be like a way, like it was gonna end with bringing Wade over
Yes.
to the, but then they were very much like, nope, you stay
Yeah, you stay where
in
you are.
your area of the
Which
world.
worked, which ultimately worked for Deadpool's story, because I mean his story was about trying to prove that he was worthy of Vanessa and her love, which by the end of the movie he does, by turning into his old self again and not being like the mopey guy he was when he didn't get to be part of the Avengers. How he would have heard about the Avengers and went to Earth 616, I'm not really sure, but it's the meta nature of Deadpool, and breaking the fourth wall and everything like that. Um, so, yeah, I
So you
guess
want to talk about the good stuff?
yeah, let's talk about
Because there's a lot
what
of fun
our
stuff in there. I mean, we're kind of griping about like some of the things that could have been done better, but
yeah,
there
I
was a
guess
lot of things I thought they did good.
we can talk about our favorite cameos in the film, or if you just
What'd
have a if you
What'd you
want to
guys
just
think
go
about?
overall into things you thought they did well, we could do that before getting into our favorite cameos.
What did you guys think about the NSYNC opening?
I
I
loved
didn't
it.
I didn't like it.
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. Um,
He, it was obviously very meta to dig up the Logan skeleton and beat the shit out of the TVA with.
yeah, I mean, some of the kills were cool and shit like that, but I don't know why he was dancing to a song from 20 plus years ago. So yeah, nor do I don't love them. I think James Mangold's fucking pissed. Did you hear his comment this past week? He's like, yeah, I think multiverse is like, I don't know if he went so far as saying the death of cinema, but he's like, I'm not about the multiverse. Um, and because I mean, he clearly made a finishing point for Logan.
Hmm.
I found it funny, ultimately, the stuff that he did as far as digging up his corpse. Um, and it didn't actually undo anything from Logan,
Yeah.
which is ultimately what matters. Um, but as
It
far as
did.
the dancing to Bye Bye Bye, I thought that was kind of stupid.
I thought it was fun. I liked it, but I mean, it's kind of the whole movie, right? I mean, it's just kind of like depends on your sense of humor and like what they're kind of. I because it's does such a like wide array. I doubt like everything works for everybody.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Uh, it's kind of like machine
Um,
gun fire
like we
and
talked
like
about, there were definitely certain aspects of it that like the three of us would laugh at and find like hilarious that fucking 50% of the audience just wouldn't remotely understand.
probably even
Um,
more than that.
yeah, because they're not so in tune with everything going
Outside
on
of like the opening night crowd, I
entertainment.
mean, like
Yeah,
Yeah,
as
there
this thing
was
continues to play and people go to see it, the more casual of an audience member you are, the less you're gonna get some of these jokes. Like my buddy texted me he saw it yesterday and he hasn't seen any of the X-Men movies. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed it, but
That's Kate.
like
I mean, Kate's like that. That's it's gonna be interesting
there's
when she
probably a
sees
bunch
it.
of stuff he didn't get because there was it was very
yeah,
much like had a love letter feel for
yeah.
some of the
It was a send off to the Fox universe and like a love letter, like you said.
um but yeah, I mean I thought the bye 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 thing was funny, but the digging up the corpse of Logan, um
Yeah,
I was fine with.
when it comes to the action scenes, easily my favorite one was like that the resistance of the various cameos along with Deadpool and Wolverine going to Cassandra's lair and aka in Giant Man's body or rotting corpse and causing havoc there, fighting a bunch of minor legacy characters from the X-Men series and everything like that. That was my favorite action sequence in the film, by far. And I guess kind of what I expected to be the last one, like and then added on the other one after with all the pools. Um, which was more fun in my opinion. Was probably, I guess, the second best in the film. Unless you just count that one-on-one fight with Deadpool and Wolverine in the car, which was pretty awesome in its own right.
Mm.
The Odyssey.
Yeah, but yeah, the first one. I guess the first one, I thought it was a weaker version of like the openings of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, particularly Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where you throw on a song and there's a big action scene going on and it's funny. I thought James Gunn just has a better hold of that than Sean Levy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It definitely was that type of thing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Bye 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 felt like more ridiculous, but I mean, Deadpool's a more ridiculous movie. So
I thought it fit with him.
I didn't necessarily have a problem with it. It just was different. But I mean, you had kind of brought up the cameos. Obviously, we got a few that I don't think any of us were expecting. We got a few that probably we were expecting.
Yeah. We had a bunch we knew about in advance from marketing or the trades talking about casting. There were a bunch I didn't even realize were in the movie until afterwards, looking on Wikipedia. As far as like uncredited actors and things like that.
Yeah, so probably the one that we all knew, or not knew, but probably suspected would make an appearance would be Chris Evans. I think we all probably weren't surprised. Like, I mean,
it was just relief that it happened.
Right. I was very hopeful that it was going to happen. When he appears, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it would have been disappointing if he wasn't, because we all just figured like they're going to get Chris Evans back to play Johnny Storm.
Yeah, I mean, he just makes the most sense because you could play with the fact that he's two different characters.
Exactly.
And then I think we talked about it a little bit, but were either of you guys surprised when, Deadpool clearly thinks that Chris Evans is Captain America?
No.
Did that get you that when he, says flame on and it's not Captain America, it's Johnny Storm?
No, not remotely.
No, it didn't. The only thing was at first, I didn't realize who it was. Like literally, like, because I was just like so focused and so overwhelmed by like the movie that like initially I was like it didn't catch with me, compute with me that it was actually Chris Evans. But then like once I saw his arms, I was like, all right, it's Johnny Storm. Like when you saw his arms underneath the cloak, I guess.
Yeah, like when I went on my way driving to the movie, like I told my brother, I'm like, if Chris Evans pops up in this movie, just so you know, he's playing his character from Fantastic Four. He's not playing Captain America. Because I was like, I don't even know if you've ever even seen the old Fantastic Four movies or anything. So just so you're aware. So yeah, it was funny hearing the audience's reaction, because I think it was just a large smattering of people thinking he was playing Cap. Until he does the flame on. So it was funny watching that reaction. But not for 1 second did I think he was playing Cap.
Yeah, I was kind of it doesn't really make sense for him to be playing Cap, so I don't know why.
No, he'd have to be playing a variant of Cap.
Right. But like, why would they, like, Cap had a send-off, why would they bring him back for a Deadpool movie? Like, it didn't really make sense, but they got a lot of people. I think people just didn't remember that he was Johnny.
The last Fantastic Four movie with him was 17 years ago.
Yeah. When he was like cloaked and everything, I think he says a line or something, and I remember being like, "Oh, that's Chris Evans."
Oh, I missed that.
I knew pretty early on it was Chris Evans.
Same.
And then when Deadpool was like, "Say the line," and I was just like, "It's gonna be." I was like just waiting for the flame on.
Yeah. He thinks it's gonna be Avengers Assemble. It's flame on.
Yeah,
that was great.
So I think I told you guys I felt kind of bad because we were seeing the movie with friends, and I was just like, we're talking about predictions, and so I was like, Chris Evans showing up and them thinking it's Captain America. Then he says "flame on" and it's really Johnny Storm, and I think I probably would have gotten that person had I not like ruined it for them.
Yeah.
But oh well. I mean, I part of me didn't really know that that was going to happen that way, but it's great that they did it that way. I mean, I think that was something I was hoping for.
I mean, that Resistance group in the Void were ultimately the big cameos. There were 5 of them. We knew 2 of them in advance. One was Jennifer Garner because it was announced by, I don't know, the Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, or something like that a long time ago.
Yep.
During filming, even though they didn't show her in marketing, so it wasn't remotely surprised when she popped up. Then they showed Daphne Keane in the final trailer over like a week before the movie came out as X-23, so obviously no surprise there when she shows up. But then we just talked about Johnny Storm, who's has quite a demise in the film. It doesn't get to do nearly as much as the others, but you really gets Chris Evans some time to do some much different material than he did in the MCU previously. His vulgar end credit scene was completely different from his like language type of personality in the Captain America movies.
It reminded me of Not Another Teen
Squeaky
Movie.
clean. Yeah, it was more in that vein than the Captain America vein.
He even goes like, I guess it's closer to probably closer to his actual like accent, his real accent, but he goes kind of like Boston's accent instead of like, so like even like the way his accent is, like he obviously changes it for Captain America to sound, you know, more wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it was very much like not Cap.
Yeah.
But yeah, the end credit was fun because you knew they were just kind of like, let's kind of flip this on its head with who everyone like thinks of Chris Evans by having him say like this super vulgar stuff. And
exactly.
I guess the twist being that you think Deadpool like
was
made all that shit up.
Exactly.
But
he was responsible for Johnny dying, which he still is responsible for dying, but like he wasn't lying, which was funny. And then the other 2 are in that group were the real 2 of the 3 like really shocking cameos for me. The other 2 in that group were Wesley Snipes playing Blade, and Channing Tatum finally getting to play Gambit. We could talk about both of those individually. I guess we could start with Wesley Snipes. Wasn't in the Fox universe, but he did star with Ryan Reynolds in Blade Trinity. Infamously enough, they did not have a good working experience on Blade Trinity. So the fact that he came back for this was fantastic. It was, especially with the fact that we've yet to see Mahershala Ali's Blade 5 years since it was announced. We got Wesley Snipes back playing the character. It was pretty shocking. I expected to eventually see him again in the Multiverse Saga, or eventually see him in the Multiverse Saga, but I wasn't expecting it to be in this one. And maybe I should have, because of the fact that he was in a movie with Ryan Reynolds previously.
Yeah. That's such a deep cut.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming at all.
No.
Yeah, it hasn't seemed like Wesley Snipes has wanted anything to do with the MCU or anything like that. So I didn't necessarily think it was coming. Maybe like Secret Wars.
Yeah, that was my expectation. Was he'd show up after Mahershala Ali already debuts as Blade and be in like Secret Wars.
Yeah, it was good. I missed the line, but I heard there was a line where Wesley Snipes' Blade says to Deadpool, like, "I don't like you."
Yeah,
and Deadpool's like, "Yeah, you never did." So I guess like kind of a reference back to the Blade Trinity experience.
I did read an interview from Comic-Con after they had their big Deadpool and Wolverine panel Friday night or Thursday night, and Wesley Snipes talked about how he got involved in the movie and stuff like that. And he said he had plenty of talks with Marvel Studios ever since they got the rights to Blade. I don't know, in 2012, but nothing ever worked out. It got to the point where he just figured, all right, it's not happening. Like they got Mahershala Ali. I gave publicly gave him my vote of confidence, my blessing. Still hope his thing happens and does well and everything, but he just didn't see it coming. And then one day he randomly got a text from Ryan Reynolds saying, "Hey, we need to talk." And he's like, "All right, well, I get a random text from Ryan Reynolds. I'm not going to not give the guy a call. I want to see what's up with this." And that's when he pitched him. He like, "Would you be interested in doing this?" And obviously he was. He's like, "I had to get in a lot of shape to I didn't know what they were going to expect out of me filming this movie as far as action goes and things like that." But he's like, "I definitely wasn't in Blade condition." But yeah, it was interesting hearing how he ended up being in the movie because he's like, I guess him and Ryan Reynolds hadn't talked in 20 years or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, he just said, he's like, when we did Blade Trinity, he's like, I just did not get Ryan's humor. He's like, we were just not on the same wavelength. He's like, but I can see how his sense of humor worked perfectly for Deadpool. And it was just a much different experience doing it this time, and it made sense for me. So,
and they gave him a lot to do in this movie too,
yeah,
way more than I expected.
They weren't quick cameos; they were legit roles.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they could have cut the Deadpool stuff, the Deadpool corpse out, and probably even expanded their roles even more.
Yeah, I would have been happy with that.
But yeah, I mean, that was I don't know how they kept that one under wraps. I'm glad the Jennifer Garner one leaked out
of all of them. The leak, that it was her. Which again, hers wasn't she'd just done a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy before, that Netflix one that came out a year or so ago, 2 years ago. So it wasn't surprising that they ended up working together. I guess I was kind of more surprised that Ben Affleck didn't end up showing up.
Yeah, I was surprised about that.
I totally expected to see Ben Affleck back as Daredevil.
So, I mean,
maybe they're saving that for Secret Wars.
I mean, they've said technically they claimed he's dead.
But that's just to be
they can have another variant based on Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, nothing.
That was kind of a funny line.
It was a funny line, a very meta line about the Jennifer Garner, Ben Affleck's divorce.
Yeah, what was it? I'm sorry, Daredevil's dead, and she was just like, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So save him and do something with him and Charlie Cox down the road.
Yeah.
And then we got Channing Tatum finally. Sorry, was somebody else going to add one more point about?
I was just going to say, I wonder if there's, because we were just kind of talking about how we're surprised that Ben Affleck didn't come back as Daredevil. I mean, I wonder if they're kind of just let's not kind of blow our loads on this one. We got Secret Wars coming up.
Yeah, which they said is going to have 60 fucking characters.
Yeah, that needs to be the movie where we bring everybody back, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which they could bring back Hugh Jackman one more time.
Oh, I fully expect him to be back.
Yeah, now that they have one that's existing in the
going
Deadpool.
To be a stacked cast.
Yeah.
And that won't be the last time we see him. I think they're going to use him more often now in small roles.
I don't think so. I think Secret Wars is going to be his actual, unless they do
actual swan song.
Unless they do a real old man Logan.
Yes, I would be legit surprised if he's still around after the Multiverse Saga. I do expect a full reboot of the mutants outside of Deadpool. Once Multiverse Saga ends, but we'll see. I mean, that's no guarantee. And there were some surprises outside of Deadpool and Wolverine this weekend, so nothing is necessarily seemingly off limits at this point. But yeah, we got Channing Tatum back. We finally got Channing Tatum. The only time we ever saw Channing Tatum as Gambit was just him showing up to Comic-Con in 2015 when they announced that he would be playing Gambit in his own solo movie. and he was in the big group photo with the cast of X-Men Apocalypse, Fantastic Four, the 2015 version, Deadpool, for Deadpool 1. And like it was a big deal. That movie never got made because it didn't get in production in time by the time Disney acquired Fox. Yeah, similar to Nick Cage appearing as Superman in The Flash, we got Channing Tatum appearing as Gambit in Deadpool and Wolverine, and it was done so much better than that Nick Cage one in The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like we got an actual character that like made sense as far as him, like the meta nature of the movie. He had tons of dialogue, was very funny. His action scenes were way cooler than when Taylor Kitsch got to do Gambit back in X-Men Origins Wolverine. I mean, people talked about how ridiculous he looked. I thought he looked like he did in the comic, or how he looked in the cartoon.
He looked a little like too beefy, I think, for Gambit.
He's got a big head. I mean,
I was kind of
But I ultimately had no problems with how he looked, and I thought it looked better than the previous version.
I mean, the character was kind of like a joke, so I thought it was kind of like, I was kind of like, let's make this guy look as ridiculous as possible. So I was kind of all in on how ridiculous he looked, because it was just a funny character. Like the voice, him doing that like Cajun voice was so ridiculous.
And again, we probably shouldn't have been surprised by this one either, because he was in Free Guy, which again is directed by Sean Levy and stars Ryan Reynolds. And they clearly had a ball in their like scenes, in one or two scenes working together on that one. So we should have thought that could be a possibility, but never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I know Corey talked about Blade. We didn't talk about this in the podcast, but Corey had talked to me about Blade being in this movie, but I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. That just doesn't that doesn't make any sense to me. He's not part of the Fox universe. Why would he be in this movie?
I didn't believe it either, but I kept seeing it over the past year pop up in different, threads or conversations.
Crappy Facebook algorithm, which
this is Reddit.
Just spoils things for you.
Yeah, this was Reddit.
Facebook
doesn't have this stuff.
Those two things were completely under wraps for me.
Yeah, I didn't hear a word about either one of those. Didn't anticipate either one of those happening.
I'm so glad they were completely off my radar, because them appearing was two of my favorite moments.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they really kind of were able to lead into it. Like Channing Tatum's just funny.
Oh yeah.
So it was kind of
He's
just
funny
like,
actor, and just leaning into that exaggerated accent. Where like
so
I said to Corey, well, you would probably know better than us. We saw Thursday night with a large raucous crowd. I was like, I don't even know if like there was a bunch of dialogue I didn't understand, but I was like, I don't know, even if there wasn't so much laughter and like applause and things like that, if I still wouldn't need subtitles to understand some of what he was saying. When you saw it Friday night,
I understood it. Yeah, okay. I understood how
you understood everything. You understood everything he said?
Yeah, I missed a lot.
Yeah. I think my crowd they were hyped and laughing and everything and clapping, but probably not to the level that yours was, where they were probably just like clapping at everything.
And that's why I love these Thursday night showings. Is like you don't get that like any other night of the weekend. But I will be seeing it a second time tonight, and I will be interested in. I know the crowd is going to be completely different. There won't be cheering and stuff like that, or clapping.
There may still be some cheering.
I might like the movie more after a second time and like fully processing everything. And yeah, there might be some cheering, clapping, but I don't even remember if there was when I saw Endgame the second time opening weekend.
Oh wow!
Or Infinity War. Granted, that one ends on a dour note. But still has its crowd pleasing moments. Like
it does, but Infinity War was also like, I just like, I don't ever remember leaving a Marvel movie as like on as much of a downer as that freaking movie, where everyone was just like, just like sad as they walk out.
Yeah. there were
like
only
usually people
like,
are like amped up and they're like, you know, buzzing a little bit. Like even this movie, everyone was kind of buzzing afterwards.
yeah.
And then like, yeah, Infinity War, everyone's just like head down and just like,
I think
like
there
they
were
just
like
went to a funeral.
3 moments in Infinity War that jacked everyone up. The first appearance of Steve Rogers, um, going to Wakanda, and then when Thor comes down.
That's the big
Yeah,
moment. Right?
those were probably like the 3 big ones when we saw it. Open like that Thursday night when it came out. But Endgame was just like fucking nonstop craziness. Which we've talked about, and like they clearly knew that and have like awkward pauses when you're watching afterwards
But
at home.
You didn't miss the dialogue because they were pausing it for the applause.
Exactly. But they can't do that for Deadpool because just the nature of it is so rapid.
It's just very like, yeah.
But yeah, and Spider-Man No Way Home, obviously that had a crazy crowd too. But
that also though had the pauses for the applause.
Yeah, it did.
They like
hey,
characters.
Charlie Cox has just walked in. Give him some round of applause.
Andrew Garfield steps through the portal and it's
Yeah.
just like he stands there for like a couple seconds.
When we have Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Let's give it up for him. They should have just put an applause sign on the screen. That actually would have been something good for Deadpool to do. Is have like a fake applause sign show up at some point.
Yeah.
The
opening, what was kind of funny with the opening Marvel credits is like Julia was singing along to like the and kind of doing it, and then like you had Ryan Reynolds also kind of doing it.
Yeah, he gets in like the middle of it.
Yeah,
that was cool. That's funny.
One thing I was thinking about after the movie was like, wow, this is what Marvel can do when they have a year to get something out of the oven and they're not focusing on anything else but that. Like the special effects were just like on point.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot better since Guardians Volume 3, as far as effects go. I don't really, well, Marvels, I don't remember having great effects, but Guardians 3, it was on point. And they clearly took their time with that one since they fired James Gunn and caused a whole bunch of problems. We got delayed. But what else? I guess the only other
cameo.
Yeah, the other big cameo for me that I didn't see coming at all was Henry Cavill as the Cavill Wolverine, doing a little knock at DC. I was expecting a DC knock, but I was expecting it to come from his Justice League partner Ben Affleck, and not from Henry Cavill.
Yeah, that one caught me completely off guard. I didn't even think it was him until he turned around. Like that whole entire time, I was like, that's just a really beefy Hugh Jackman. Because he's beefy, right? He was beefy when they filmed this, but when you look at...
they were clearly hiding his face, so I was like, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was great. He looked great as Wolverine, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean...
he's
also tall.
He's clearly another very tall person, but they also made a very
good.
funny joke about how goofy Hugh Jackman would look as a small Wolverine.
That was great. Yeah, comic book accurate.
Yeah, Wolverine. Ridiculous. I never want to see that.
He just like backs up and leaves.
When you eventually reboot Wolverine, fucking just give me Zac Efron as Wolverine, and I'll be good with his height. Not too tall, but not like.
I don't want Zac Efron.
Zac
Efron's a little too weird looking these days for me.
All right, fair enough.
I like the people are talking about what? Harry Potter.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah,
Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah,
Corey's good.
Corey's mentioned him before.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, it's cute.
I don't
kind of like
personally
that.
see it at all, but clearly a lot of other people do. So I'm in the minority. I've also seen people say they want to see Zac Efron. So
he would also be great.
There's obviously fan casting is always interesting. But who knows? Maybe Wolverine will, or Hugh Jackman will play this role till he's 90. Till you're 90.
Yeah, that was funny. That was a funny running joke. But yeah, I mean, the Henry Cavill caught me off surprise. I thought they were going to do a lot more cameos for the different Wolverine variants. So I was kind of, when I saw it was all just kind of Hugh Jackman, I was like, okay, I guess they're not going to do that. And then, they had the one with Cavill. Yeah. But I thought they were going to do Daniel Radcliffe. I thought they were going to do Taron Egerton. I thought they were just going to kind of do all the fan casting.
All the fan casting, exactly. But yeah, those were the big cameos. And then, yeah, we talked about, we knew Daphne Keane was back between showing up the red carpet, being in the marketing over the past, the last week before it came out. But I thought she was fantastic. Would have loved to see more of her. Hope we do see more of her. I mean, based on her being at the kitchen table at the end of the movie. It's not ruled out that her and Hugh Jackman can't do something else again.
Which does kind of, when we were talking about how Logan doesn't get undone. I mean,
James Mangold would lose his goddamn mind.
In a way, them at the table together very much reminded me of the dinner table scene in Logan with Charles, X-23, and Logan. I was like, oh shit, this is exactly the same. but
yeah, and she buried Logan. It's like, you get another Logan now. Congrats.
I like the fact that she got to help him this time after he helped her. I thought that was poignant in its own way, even if again stakes don't fucking matter in a multiverse, which is so clear at this point. It only matters when they've decided we put a bow on something, we don't want to mess with it, and we're not willing to give you a Brinks truck full of money.
The timeline's gonna.
But how many bows have they put on stuff now that they're...
I mean, right now it's Captain America is really the only bow, and Tony Stark. They're the bows.
I mean, we're about to talk about...
But we've already seen Chris Evans back, but in a different role, and we've already seen... And yes, we're going to be talking about...
right, I mean, that kind of...
Mr. Robert Downey Jr. later.
Yeah, does that undo the bow that they put on that character? So
yeah, and we got a Black Widow movie after Scarlett Johansson died in Endgame. So yeah, I guess nothing seems to be off the table, even if that was a prequel. But
there was a couple other cameos, but I think you were referencing them, the Deadpool cameos.
Yeah,
where I don't know if it was just the voice or if they actually wore.
My guess is Blake Lively outfit and everyone else's voices.
But what's interesting is
Matthew McConaughey showed up on set.
He did show up on set. That was him.
No, I said I don't think Matthew McConaughey showed up on set.
So there was a cowboy Deadpool.
Nathan Fillion was the Headpool.
Oh, he was.
Yeah. So Headpool was Nathan Fillion. Blake Lively was the Lady Deadpool.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize the character in the comic was based off of Blake Lively.
Oh, really?
Coincidentally enough,
Rob Liefeld. I didn't know that.
Him and his wife were huge Gossip Girl fans, and they created the character at the same time she was shooting Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds was talking about his love for Deadpool. So it was just weird that all of this is how the world worked out.
Matthew McConaughey was Cowboy Deadpool.
Oh, he was? Wow.
Somebody from one of the Wrexham teams was...
Yeah, the star striker from Wrexham, Paul Mullen, played Welsh Deadpool. The Deadpool with the Welsh symbol on his chest. Both of Ryan Reynolds' kids were in the movie. Two of the Deadpools.
Two of his 4 kids were in it.
Oh, yeah, 2 of his 4 kids.
Yeah,
so you had...
Baby Pool and Kid Pool. Were his 2 youngest kids.
That's cool. Oh, yeah, Kid Pool had such a funny comment. I can't even remember exactly what it is, but he says something really funny, like "get the dick out of your mouth" or something like that.
Yeah, he brought the kid. He's shown his 3 oldest kids the movie, and the youngest one is Baby. So Baby's not gonna get anything out of it. But yeah,
there was
then there were just a lot of other random cameos, like smaller like villains, like Ray Park returned as Toad, Tyler Mane returned as Sabretooth, Kelly Hugh returned as Lady Deathstrike,
Juggernaut.
Aaron Stanfield was Pyro, which we saw back in the first trailer. Yeah, they had Juggernaut, not a returning actor as Juggernaut. They had an actor play Jason Fleming return as Azazel from First Class.
I was gonna ask, was that the same actor from First Class?
Same actor from First Class. Yep.
I don't think anyone even like remembered that he like First Class.
I
It
forgot
It seemed
about
like a lot of
Azazel.
people didn't remember who Azazel was.
Yeah, I believe the Callisto actress returned from The Last Stand. So yeah, they had a lot of smaller ones, ones that I didn't even catch, that I read online afterwards.
Wow.
So yeah,
They also had Rob McElhenney was one of the TVA agents.
yeah. Did you actually know which one he was?
No.
Okay, yeah, neither did I.
Was he
It's
in the
kind of
beginning?
weird. What was
Was he
that?
one? Was he in the beginning credits? The one that got killed, or was he at another point in time?
I'm not sure.
Um,
It's kind of weird that they, or not weird, but they did a lot of cameos or voices and stuff, but didn't actually show who the people were.
the
Which is interesting.
one actor, I'm still not sure how he was alive. From the Deadpool universe, because he was in X Force, not Peter, who they clearly showed him save in
Right.
the credit scene of Deadpool 2, was the other one in X Force, Shatterstar. Like, he died in X Force, but they didn't show him survive. Yeah, he was in the movie.
Yeah.
I guess Deadpool decided to save him as well, or something. I don't know what happened there. But he was at the party in the beginning and everything. He's
And at
one of
the
like
end.
the 9 people he cares about or whatever. Yep. And at the end. But as far as the MCU goes, the only cameos were really the X-15 or X-15, is that her name? Hunter X-15.
Oh, I don't know what her name is.
From
Yeah,
Loki.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I forgot her name. From the TVA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hunter X-15 or Hunter B-15. There'd be too many X's if it was X-15. And then Happy, which you mentioned, which I thought was very fitting since Jon Favreau is the director of Iron Man, to have him be in the movie that also brings in another entire universe over, and kind of be the person auditioning him to be the person to come
Yeah.
into the MCU. I think it was a nice meta touch. And Jon Favreau is Foggy Nelson in the Fox movies, in Daredevil 2003. So
I didn't remember that.
it works for him being. They showed him in the montage set to "Good Riddance" by Green Day in the post credits or in the mid credits of the movie.
That would have caught me off guard if he was Foggy. You think it's Happy Hogan and it's Foggy? No.
Yeah. But yeah, who
That would
else?
have been a really deep cut.
We didn't really get anyone else in the MCU. We got archival footage that was altered of Thor from Thor: The Dark World, where it just has Thor crying over Deadpool dying instead of Thor crying over Loki dying.
Yeah. That was kind of a funny running gag, I thought, where they were just like, but why is Thor crying?
Yeah.
He wakes up. Thor.
Yeah, and then I mean, it's him Deadpool seeing footage from other movies. Is there any? There's not anyone else, right?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we covered it all.
Okay. Yes. I mean, Happy Hogan was the big MCU surprise. I mean, because I had even seen the one from Loki in a commercial over the past week before the movie came out, like a TV spot. So
I thought Tom Hiddleston was gonna appear with the TVA and everything.
That's what I thought too.
yeah, again, he's someone who had a perfect ending with the TV show. He's had a perfect ending multiple times. We'll see when he returns. 'Cause Well, that everyone returns.
His Secret Wars probably, right? He's
Yeah,
probably going to be like a
he's
big
gonna have
part of
to.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
assuming he's gonna have to close the multiverse or something like that. Bring everyone together. I don't know exactly how that comic works or how they're gonna end that saga, but I would assume he makes at least one more appearance. So yeah, I guess my only other questions: how would you compare it to the other multiverse films? And then, did you think it was worth? We kind of talked about it. Did you think it was worth Hugh Jackman returning post Logan?
Definitely.
Yeah, I do.
I'm ultimately
I
just
think it
happy
was,
seeing him in the role. So,
yeah. And I
and
thought
it
like
didn't undo
we,
what Logan, so it worked for me.
yeah, and we haven't gotten him in this like buddy comedy role, so
Yeah.
it was kind of a different. It was different to kind of see him like this. So I thought it was fun, and I'm glad he came back.
Yeah.
As far as where it compares in the other multiverse movies,
Bar's not very high.
The bar is extremely high if you include the Spider-Verse movies, and if you include things like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Um,
yes.
Oh, I'm
It's
thinking
not.
just Marvel, like MCU rather.
if you include just MCU, I mean, there's what, 3 movies? It's No Way Home, this, and Doctor
Multiverse of
Strange are
Madness.
the only 3. I wouldn't count Quantum Mania as a multiverse movie. That's a quantum. What is it? The
Quantum Realm.
Quantum Realm. That was a Quantum Realm movie. That was a multiverse movie, even though
If you
it pulled in someone from another universe, but it really wasn't a multiverse movie. If we want to say it's a multiverse movie, then that's far and away the worst multiverse movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know that you need to. I don't know that one counts because that was kind of towards the end.
Yeah,
Um,
I personally wouldn't count it as a multiverse movie. Among the MCU, I would just count Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and this one
And then if you wanted to include TV shows, then Loki would be
in it as
in
well.
the mix. Loki season 1 and 2.
Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely better than Multiverse of Madness.
agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had more. I enjoyed No Way Home more, personally, but I think it's way above No Multiverse of Madness, and then like not as far below No Way Home in my mind. No Way Home was just I just had a really great time with that movie. Not that I didn't have a good time with Deadpool, but I think the story overall worked better. Um, so I'd probably go. Are we including Loki's too?
Sure, why not?
That makes it harder.
Just count Loki as one thing, not both individual seasons.
Okay, I'd probably go No Way Home, Deadpool, Loki, Multiverse of Madness is just kind of like pretty far down.
Okay.
Loki season 2 ended really strongly, but if I'm kind of having to add them all up as a whole, it wasn't as good for me, I think, as Deadpool.
And for me, I would go No Way Home, Loki, Deadpool Wolverine, and then Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
And then those 3 other movies that I talked about are above all
right.
4 of the movies
I would agree
that
with that.
all 4 of the MCU movies
Yeah, I mean, I
or
agree.
Flash TV show.
I agree with Murph for now, but I could see it. I could see Loki and Deadpool shifting, only because when I watched No Way Home on repeat viewings, it dropped a lot for me. Like a lot of the stuff, movie just didn't work as well for me repeat viewings as it did like the first time. Like a lot of stuff kind of fell apart for me. But we'll see.
Wait, so you have No Way Home? I had No Way Home.
No Way Home on top, but I
Oh,
could
okay. You do have
my
No Way Home on.
yeah.
top.
My point
Okay.
is that after seeing Deadpool maybe like 1 or 2 more times, it might go up another notch over
Gotcha.
Loki.
Okay. I guess you were on that high right after the movie when on Thursday night.
Yeah.
When then you said like said Deadpool and Wolverine, but
Mhm.
understandable on reflection, and I can totally see it changing after watching the movie again. Because some of these movies have moved up for me, some of them have moved down. Multiverse of Madness was one that it moved up for me on a second viewing. I was like very disappointed on the first viewing. And No Way Home is one where you just can't capture that first time when you watch it a second time. But I still think it's a very strong film. So, all right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more Deadpool, Wolverine, mutants. Don't know how much more we're gonna get of the X-Men version of the characters before they do the whole reboot. When what I expect will be the mutant saga starting with Phase 7, but that's pure speculation on my part.
Yeah, I mean, so you kind of talked about it a little bit, but we had the ending of Deadpool. While the credits are playing, we get scenes from the original X-Men movies. I don't know. Was Deadpool supposed to be like a goodbye to those characters?
I think it was more a celebration, like a celebration of like the 20th Century Fox work, because it's the only like the only clear movie that they're getting that's just based on a characters from that universe. That was I could see it going either way, but like, why bring back Kelsey Grammer as Beast in the Marvels, like, and some other ones that they've done so far, if they're not going to use them again, in Secret Wars and do Avengers 5. We'll do the full title in a moment. But yeah, it seemed like this was the proper way to say see you later to the Fox movies. I mean, it's said in the credits in association with, I think, 20th Century Studios. So that's what I got from it. But it definitely had a like farewell feel as well. But like, they're not going to say goodbye to Deadpool. Like, this movie's,
No.
spoiler alert, it's having one of the biggest opening weekends of all time. Ryan Reynolds ain't going to be done with the role anytime soon, and if as long as Hugh Jackman wants to play it, like, I can't see them saying sorry, Hugh. Like, Feige started his career working on X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, he fucking brought Hugh Jackman to the airport after his audition. Like, this was like a full circle moment for them. But as far as the rest of everyone goes, we'll see.
Hopefully, Secret Wars.
Yeah, I'm hoping Secret Wars. I'm hoping that's just an epic. That's the big nostalgia movie. Like,
yeah,
to end all the nostalgia movies. I hope it's actually a really good movie on top of just being like dopamine hits after dopamine hits of nostalgia. But then I want them to move on to kind of, for the most part, a new like direction, and not rely so much on the past.
I was trying to think a little bit about Deadpool 4. One other team up that we haven't gotten that's like a big Deadpool team up is Spider-Man.
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman both said they want to work with Tom Holland next.
To me, I was thinking Garfield would be better.
Yeah, they explicitly said Tom Holland. But again,
I mean,
wouldn't shock me if Maguire, Garfield pop up again before the Multiverse Saga ends. I'm fully expecting another Spider-Man movie also before the saga ends as well, but I doubt that would be a multiverse movie.
Yeah, I figured like Tom Holland, they probably wouldn't want to, kind of mess with the character that's kind of like their main MCU Spider-Man. Maybe they would, but I was just thinking like Garfield would probably he's funny, and like you don't have to worry about messing with like your main Spider-Man because it'd just be like an alternate Spider-Man. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I was thinking they could go, is they could get Spidey next.
Yeah. I don't know what they'll do with the Deadpool 4, but I expect them to interact with Tom Holland in an Avengers movie. All right, let's talk about the future now. Comic-Con. So we'll talk about the 3 movies that are all coming out next year. Feige again explicitly said that these are the only 3 movies coming out in 2025. So you can cross Blade off your list for 2025, which as of yesterday was still scheduled to come out November something 2025. That clearly is not happening anymore.
To the shock of nobody, right?
Nary a mention of
a script.
that film. Yeah, there's not a script. They did not even mention it. They mentioned it at both Comic-Con 2019 and Comic-Con 2022 when they had their massive panels about the upcoming movies, where they laid the roadmap of the phases and everything. But yeah, didn't even talk about it. But Captain America: Brave New World, that's our first one coming out in February of 2025. I guess the biggest news coming out of it would be we do have adamantium in the MCU now that has been discovered in the Celestial at the end of Eternals. So we know that is in play. We know that Thunderbolt Ross, President Thaddeus Ross, now played by Harrison Ford, he's Red Hulking up. He wants to reassemble, he wants Sam Wilson, who's now Captain America, to reform the Avengers. And then I guess we don't know too much other than that. We know the leader is going to be in it. We now know Giancarlo Esposito is playing the leader of the Serpent Society. I forget the name of the character.
Sidewinder.
Sidewinder, yep. But which is funny because back in 2014, they said when they announced their upcoming movies, they announced Captain America: The Serpent Society, and then at the end of at the very end of the thing, they were like, all right, we have one surprise for you. They brought out Robert Downey Jr. and then they crossed out the Serpent Society and was like, it's Captain America: Civil War. So now we have Serpent Society as part of a Captain America movie. One movie later. But yeah, does anything in particular got you excited? I mean, Tim Blake Nelson back after 18 years for finally playing the leader after being in The Incredible Hulk. That's kind of exciting. They didn't talk about Liv Tyler at all, which I was surprised. I was surprised she wasn't there because she's supposed to be in the movie unless they got rid of her based on these reshoots. But as of now, I believe she's still in the film. And I mean, she's the president's daughter, so we'll see. But the audience there saw Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. They said, from what I've heard, it looks very much like Harrison Ford's face on a Hulk. Like you can tell it's Harrison Ford even when he's hulked up. He did do a hulking up motion on stage at Hall H, which was pretty wild to see. Him have that much energy. I thought that was fun. But along with Giancarlo Esposito's sheer passion for being in the MCU, he seems so grateful and excited to be able to announce who he was playing and thanking the fans for basically fan casting him in so many different roles that Kevin Feige's like, all right, we need to talk and get you into the MCU. But I don't know if there's too much else to talk about with Captain America.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is I just hope Giancarlo Esposito, it seems like he'll probably continue to be around because that character evolves. And Serpent Society's cool. So, like, I'm actually a bit more excited about this movie now than I was before. So,
yeah, I mean, it does sound like they've reshot a lot of it based after they were like, all right, it's time to go quality control and quality over quantity. So maybe it's been reworked and it will be at a Winter Soldier level versus a Secret Invasion level. Which are the two things it looks like the most as far as previous MCU related projects. But yeah, I don't have anything else really to talk about in regards to this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like still kind of worried about this movie.
I think it's going to be one that, like, makes people like not too excited. Like
I'm
MCU's
kinda
at a
worried-
high this weekend, and it's going to go down after Agatha and Captain America.
And the other project we're about to talk about, I think I'm worried about as well. Like,
As am I.
I just think
These are
I'm
projects that I
worried.
don't think would have happened
No,
if if they could have scrapped them.
Agreed.
But let's just get into the next one. Coming out next May, we have Thunderbolts with an asterisk at the end. They won't reveal what the asterisk means. They have claimed
It's just that asterisk.
yeah, they have claimed that Harrison Ford is not in this movie, and that it's just comic book history just happens to have things with the same title, same names. That to me is very strange. But all right,
yeah.
I
Are we-
kind of still expect him to be in it, but we'll see.
Well, I'm trying to remember. I think the Thunderbolts. I think Norman Osborn in the comics was the leader of the Thunderbolts. I mean, not it's completely different. Like there's not even the same characters, but just by name.
Yeah, I mean clearly the Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is running
Yeah.
them in this, but if they're official like military like op or something, the president would be involved in setting them up. So I'm fully expecting the Thunderbolt, like Harrison Ford, to be in this as well. But yeah,
Do we think-
what
Do you think
What do
the
we think?
asterisk is because they're going to change the name? Like, do we think they're going to go
No,
just like Dark Avengers?
I've heard that Thunderbolt starts off with a major twist, so maybe I don't know, there's speculation that there's going to be some sort of twist, and like the asterisk has something to do with it. But I mean, it basically just sounds like Marvel's answer to Suicide Squad, by putting all these like anti-heroes together. Not villain. Well, some of them were villains, but and anti-heroes and villains. I don't know. The fact that Stephen Yeun dropped out of the movie and AO Sydney from the Bear, AO Barry, dropped out. That has me a little concerned. Replaced with, I believe, Lewis Pullman and Geraldine Viswanathan, respectively. Both strong actors, but not nearly as known as those other two, who are Academy Award nominated and Emmy winning actors. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, we know who's in the team. It's Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. We've got the U.S. Soldier from slash this fake Captain America in Falcon and the Winter Soldier who Wyatt Russell played. We got Red Guardian. We've got Yelena Belova from Black Widow, both of them. Who else we got on the team? We got Olga Kurilenko, who she didn't show up at Comic-Con as Taskmaster, and
David Harbour's character.
Yep, we got him already. I feel like there was one I might be missing that was there, but that might be it. Yep. Oh no, the biggest one, Sebastian Stan.
I keep forgetting that he's
as
in
Bucky.
that.
I keep forgetting he's in it too. But yeah, like Anthony Mackie gets to follow up with his movie next year in the starring role. Sebastian Stan gets to follow up that show with a movie where he's in the starring role. Granted, it's a big ensemble piece. And from the chatter on stage, it sounds like Florence Pugh is the real headliner of the movie.
Makes sense.
As both, I believe, Sebastian Stan and David Harbour both shouted her out. Doug, were those the two actors that shouted her out and made her feel uncomfortable on stage? By like,
I don't remember.
Basically showing how being like, you're such a great actress. David Harbour was the second one, I believe. Sebastian Stan was the first one.
And when does
Well,
that one
David
come out?
Harbour-
2026?
David Harbour obviously has a relationship with her because of Black Widow.
She came out in full character.
Yeah, he came out as the Red Guardian and did a mock like, "Oh, why we were supposed to all dress up? I sent an email. What the hell?" This comes out May of 2025.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they showed a scene from the film with Red Guardian and Yelena. They're still going to be dealing with their family drama, but yeah, we don't know. We don't know too much else about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Harrison Ford's in this movie. I think probably wind up taking over that team.
He's probably the asterisk or something.
Maybe. I still kind of think they're gonna change the title.
I
hope
hope
no one knows
so.
what the hell the Thunderbolts are. I don't know. If they just, I really think like Dark Avengers is probably what they're. If I were a betting man, they would try to. Although I don't know if they want to sour the Avengers.
Yeah, I don't know.
name.
Yeah, just like I don't know if they're ever going to really make a Young Avengers.
Not anymore. I don't think.
So, yeah, I guess that's really it that we have to say for Thunderbolts. But let's move on to the Fantastic Four, which now has its official goofy title, the Fantastic Four First Steps.
The First Steps, isn't it?
Just
Or is it the?
just First Steps?
So it's the Fantastic Four First Steps.
Correct.
Yeah, that's so goofy.
I guess because they're taking not just one step onto the moon or something like that, but they'll be taking all their steps. I don't know. Title's fucking weird.
I guess they kind of felt like we've already had two Fantastic Fours. We need to somehow distinguish this one.
They did. They added the word "the." I mean, it already worked for Batman and Wolverine.
It's already titled like Marvel Studios The Fantastic Four. That would have been enough.
Yeah, it's just it's an unwieldy title. But
no one's gonna say the First Steps part of the title.
No.
It's just kind of
Hopefully
there.
they just get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm hoping they just drop it over the next year. But yeah, they
The
showed
logo
up.
looks cool though. It's got that like 60s.
Oh yeah, no, the
feel
logo's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the retro futuristic 60s vibe to it. So it's set in an alt universe. That's gonna be cool. They showed off the Fantastic Car. They had it flying around Hall H.
It's kind of goofy.
It definitely looks. It's very Jetsons like.
Yeah, but it's the '60s, so I mean, it's gonna look kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that was like a moment that fans needed. It just kind of felt like a little awkward that they like floated this car by.
The Fantastic Four are awkward, like they are, and that's been the issue, and will hopefully not be an issue with this one. But I don't know.
The big surprise that didn't really seem like a surprise is that they got the four actors to come in from London.
Okay, so you can get the director over, but you can't get the cast over from London?
Sorry, guys, we just got Matt Jackman.
Okay.
The other four couldn't make it over.
Oh, I didn't see that. So the cast wasn't there?
We really believe that. No, they
started it off with, hey, guys, like, we got Matt Jackman to fly over. You know, he's the director of Fantastic Four. But unfortunately, you know, we weren't able to get the actors over, so that, you know, they got this like little picture that we're going to show you of them together in London.
Yeah, they showed the picture,
and then they were just like,
and they showed some mock footage or something that they had worked on.
Sure,
like retro footage, which we didn't get to see.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Gotcha, guys, they're really here!" And then they like came out, and it was like,
least surprising surprise ever.
I thought they weren't there. I was like, what? How could they not?
They
be
acted
there?
like they weren't there.
Right.
Like,
I get it now.
Gotcha, guys. Here they are, and then they came out.
So is Pedro just gonna refuse to shave his mustache?
Oh yeah, no, he's gonna look like Pedro, man. Like he's just gonna go.
They did talk. They did. Circling back to Captain America, they did talk to Harrison Ford about the mustache, and he goes, "They didn't ask me to grow one." He's like, "I would have." But they just never asked.
I guess they wanted to
Rob
differentiate.
Delaney asked him because he moderated the thing, and obviously he had his great mustache as Peter. And he had a nice Harrison Ford had a nice shout out to William Hurt as well, for all the work he had previously done as Ross. But yeah, going back to Fantastic Four, I guess Pedro is just going to Pedro it up.
Maybe not. Well, I guess we'll see.
We'll find out. I guess on Monday when they start shooting, they have to decide.
Yeah, they shoot Monday, or start shooting Monday.
He just looks
what's
like
his face? I mean, Pedro got obviously the biggest applause, which wasn't
no surprise. As geek friendly as it gets. Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Last of Us.
He's in everything.
I thought Eben was like Moss Baccarat. I thought he was like seemed pretty awkward.
I did as well. I thought he was like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, he's kind of got to get used to, I guess, this, and that may not everyone's like.
I mean, he's not from
it up
like the world of blockbuster film yet. I mean, he was in like a few episodes of Andor, but like that was it. I mean, otherwise he's in things like Girls, The Bear, not these big blockbuster affairs.
And then I didn't really hear too much from like Vanessa Kirby. I didn't hear a ton from. They just had like that one question about like being a sibling.
Yeah.
With what's his face, Quinn.
Yeah. Sorry, the question about Quinn and the siblings.
Yeah, it was just that was the only question I remember.
And
really
she said she was just having a ton of fun, and it was like never laughed so much on a set or something like that. And they've only just begun.
Yeah, which is what you want to hear, is that there's good chemistry from the cast, but.
And I never even connected the fact that the brother and sister are both British actors until they said it on stage. Probably because I never thought of Joseph Quinn as British until because of his performance in Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until Quiet Place when he kind of has the accent. But even that's not like a crazy one. We'll see if third time's a charm for Fantastic Four. I mean, the first two did well, but they weren't like major. They were overshadowed by other blockbusters. And then the 2015 one just outright bombed. But we'll see. I'm expecting a hit out of this one. Especially, well, we know. All right, what else do we know? We know Galactus is the villain, and we can assume they're going to potentially introduce Doctor Doom in this one. As we segue into talking about the two Avengers films,
they should. Yeah,
I think they need to.
Which Doctor Doom though?
They teed up Thanos well before Infinity War and Endgame.
He has such a relationship with Reed Richards that they have to, or we'll probably see Robert Downey Jr. in that.
Yeah. So, Avengers. Obviously, we all knew Secret Wars was coming in May of 2027. We thought Avengers: The Kang Dynasty was coming out in May 2026. Obviously, everything happened with Jonathan Majors, and they quietly got rid of the Kang character in season 2 of Loki. TVA is dealing with all of those very dangerous variants. After Ant-Man was easily able to deal with them in Quantumania. And then it just became Avengers 5 for a while. We now officially know the Russo brothers are back. They came on stage to announce their return.
That had leaked ahead of time, so we kind of had already heard that the Russos were back.
Seeing them officially on stage, getting that official announcement was pretty dope, though. This is the movie that they've always wanted, like said they would return for if they could. So they are co-producing the movie. They're a GBO company, I believe it is. Yep, AGBO, which is rare for Marvel Studios to do co-productions, like they did with Deadpool and Wolverine. So just shows they probably got a ton of money to return. This was definitely a "we're coming back to you," not the other way around situation. It was announced in the press release, but not at Comic-Con, that only Marcus is coming back, or only McFeely's coming back to write it. Very odd, because they've worked on 14 straight movies and 2 TV shows together. They haven't worked together. They've done 6 Russo brother movies in a row, including The Gray Man and their upcoming one that's coming out on Netflix. So it's very weird that only one of them is coming back.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why that is. Like,
yeah, only
why
McFeely is
Marcus
coming
isn't
back.
coming back, right? It's just McFeely.
Yep.
Which I had heard. I had heard it was only going to be the one of them, and I'm not really sure why Marcus isn't. But it is a little concerning.
It is concerning to me as well. That's the only thing I'm currently concerned about in regards to these movies. But yeah, they talked about Secret Wars. They've always wanted to do it. It's the comic that inspired them. They've said this before, no real surprise. But obviously, they needed to announce what the fuck they're doing with Avengers 5. We now know it's Avengers Doomsday. So, as we alluded to, Doctor Doom, he will be the big bad. He's clearly going to be the big bad of Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, just like Thanos was the big bad of Infinity War and Endgame. So a 2-part Avengers movie to end this saga. But then the big whopper was them announcing who was playing Doctor Doom. And thankfully, there were rumors online, but I never saw them. Neither did you two.
I saw it, or I heard it. It just sounded so ridiculous that I didn't think it was true.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I never heard anything.
The triumphant return of Robert Downey Jr. As he made his way on stage, taking off the mask and putting his arms out just like he did in the beginning of Iron Man 1, to roars of approval.
Which there was never not going to be roars of approval.
Never not. Yeah. No, of course not.
Robert Downey Jr. being there, like, come on.
Yeah, no, they brought back the Golden Boy to play one of the most iconic villains in Marvel comic history. I mean, you can, I guess, make the debate that he is the most iconic one. So it is going to be, this is huge. It's clearly them going back to their glory days, in a sense of, like, we need to figure out ways to get people excited by bringing back the Russos and Robert Downey Jr. But I don't think it's like all like a negative thing. I think they could do some really cool stuff with this. They did say he's playing Victor Von Doom. That's been straight up said. They didn't say if he's in the Fantastic Four, but again, it seems like he would be. I imagine he moves over to their universe at the same time that the Fantastic Four does, since they're from another universe. Are we thinking he's a Tony Stark variant, Victor Von Doom?
I think that.
So.
Yeah, I think that's how it has to at least play out in this world.
I don't think he's wearing the mask the entire time.
No.
Did you catch what he said?
Same mask, new task, or new mask, same task. That one.
Yeah, different mask, same task, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's like a cool line, but I don't know what it means. Is the task just to do cool, like awesome stuff? I don't know.
Well, I don't know if he's referring to the Iron Man character. Like, is he still trying to save the world?
Yeah, just with ultimately no regards to, like.
Yeah, I mean,
with no boundaries and
Yeah, I was just trying to. I was trying to read into like what exactly that meant because
Yeah, I
obviously
can
they
understand
told.
what it.
Obviously, it means something. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. I don't think just kind of came up with that line, or if he did, it was based on something he knows about the character. So
No, I mean they are throwing it up on Marvel, all like the Marvel Studios, like social stuff like that.
okay,
Those 4 words. So, and they showed what looked what to be a cooler looking mask on his Instagram than the one that he wore on stage. Because the one on stage, it seemed like they were all wearing the same
Plastic.
plastic
yeah,
P1 to not, so you don't know who the real person is.
Mhm.
That was eventually comes to the forefront and takes off the mask. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he's a variant of Tony Stark, basically the Tony Stark that doesn't have limits and is like evil. Or if it's his 60s, I mean, I guess he could be a variant of Howard Stark. Um, but time doesn't necessarily work, doesn't have to work the same way in a multiverse. So it's probably Tony.
He also doesn't
Um,
necessarily have to come from the 60s. He could just end up there somehow.
well, and it may not
well,
be the
if you're
'60s,
saying
right?
he has to have that relationship with Reed, then he would have to come from the 60s.
Well, he's there, but he's not necessarily. He didn't start there, is what I'm
Do,
saying.
do we know it's the '60s, or can it be
They've
a?
said the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay, it can't just be like a '60s feeling multiverse. Okay, because Fallout has got like an old timey but futuristic feel. So, um, obviously maybe it was something like that. But if they said it's the '60s, then yeah, that's maybe time travel.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the
we've done plenty of people have done it in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, Avengers is just a time. Endgame is a time heist, so
Yeah,
like time travel is
exactly.
very much possible.
Yeah. So
if we're talking about the multiverse, I mean, he could have had some swath with a version of Reed Richards, and then it brought him to that specific time for that specific movie with that specific Reed Richards for whatever reason.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, nothing's off the table as far as predictions and
I
speculation.
just I wonder
Are,
how he becomes Victor Von Doom. Like, does he not get? He goes up for adoption as like a baby.
I don't
And
know.
he like Howard Stark isn't hit raise him. He gets raised by like the Von Doom family.
Are you guys? But yeah, I don't know. Well, like, straying away from theories, are you excited about the fact that they went with Robert Downey Jr. for the casting of after him already playing the most iconic character in the MCU, that now he's playing another character and again one of the biggest, if not one the biggest villain in Marvel Comics.
I don't really like it. I mean, I was kind of hoping to get like a big actor to kind of take on this new character role. Like,
Okay, you're gonna have to clarify as a big new actor because you don't get much bigger than Robert Downey Jr.
yeah, I mean, I guess I liked the like idea of like a Henry Cavill, or which I guess clearly wasn't going to happen after this whole Cavill Wolverine appearance, or like the um, Killian Murphy, or like one of those
Well, no,
actors. Just
they didn't go with Oppenheimer. They went with Louis Strauss.
yeah. So
Strauss.
I mean, I just think
Ross.
we've gotten Robert Downey Jr. in the Marvel. I was just kind of like hoping for like some new blood, some new kind of someone to bring something a little different. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. But I don't know. I'm already like kind of feeling weird about like, so like, how does Tony fit in? And like, is Tony coming back too? And are we gonna have like Iron Man versus?
I hope not. I think I don't. My expectation is that he does not come back. That they did put a bow on that character, with Endgame, and this is their loophole to continue to use him, the actor. Um, but I could be wrong.
I mean, it'll definitely make it more personal feeling
That is
with
what I'm
Doc.
excited. Is what I'm excited about because they've done such a poor job setting up this saga. You now have the hook. and the hook is that they are fighting their somebody who looks and talks like their mentor, their friend, their work colleague, whatever you want to call them. That is what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you instant like stakes
Exactly.
because of the fact that everyone knows this guy, and like obviously Tom Holland, has the most of a mentor figure relationship with Tony.
That's gonna be a
that if
blast to watch.
Yeah, so it's just kind of turns their relationship on their head now that your main villain has the face and voice of your beloved friend who
Yeah.
saved the world in the last Avengers franchise, is now trying to destroy it.
Exactly. Like that's to me that's a cool hook.
Yeah.
I was first I was just shocked. The whole concept, I just couldn't believe it. Then it was like, does this make sense? Should it have been another actor? And then thinking more about it, it's really that it it immediately now has stakes, and despite not having set up this ending clearly at all, the way that the Infinity Saga brought in the Infinity Stones and Thanos in Phase 1, and we're nearly at the end of Phase 5, and there is no clear direction of how to get to these final Avengers movies and finish the saga.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, from that perspective, I guess it makes sense because all the setup's already been done for you with Tony,
Exactly.
that you don't really have to do so much anymore. You're not introducing a whole new person. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, it'll be I'm sure fun for Robert Downey Jr.
How much of an upgrade is Doctor Doom over Kang for Avengers 5?
Oh yeah,
It's like
yeah.
crazy how much of an upgrade it is.
Yeah, and Doom is supposed to be the villain for Secret Wars. They were changing it to Kang, so now it's just going back to the comics.
Yeah, so I think they turned a very crappy situation into a movie that's going to make well over $1 billion. Two movies are going to make well over $1 billion each. So, Corey, yeah, Doug.
The last thing I was going to say is it's probably going to be like similar to Infinity War, with like the Doomsday will probably be like not a happy ending.
Yeah,
and then Secret Wars is like kind of the.
They come out a year apart.
Yep. They haven't announced the movies in between, or if there's anything coming out in early 2025 before.
Blade, maybe.
Exactly, maybe Blade before Doomsday, but I do expect some more movies to fill in the Phase 6 block. A Spider-Man movie, Shang-Chi movie, likely, and Blade would be probably the three movies, if they were only to do three more movies in that phase, because currently Phase 6 is Fantastic Four, Blade, TBD, and the two Avengers movies. So,
and then you've got the following phase is probably where we'll start doing the X-Men.
And I feel like that phase is going to be so much clearly put together that they're not going to have all the problem. Everything that could go wrong isn't going to go wrong again, the way the Multiverse Saga played out, both in the real world, on sets. Anything that could go wrong went wrong this time. Yeah. It's crazy. The Infinity Saga was a miracle. The Multiverse Saga was how reality kind of plays. It was like Murphy's Law, basically. Everything that could go wrong did. Mm-hmm. Corey, what are your ultimate thoughts on Downey?
I'm kind of in between both of you. I'm definitely excited. I mean, how could I not be? I mean,
right.
RDJ is fucking returning. Of course I'm pumped, but I am very cautiously optimistic.
Which is fair.
I'm still trying to wrap my head how it's going to work. I mean, definitely what you know, with the stakes being immediate now and then having all these connections just based on who he looks like makes sense and will be fun. But it's a big uphill battle, I think, for fans, because like you really have to try to expertly balance this as a new character without ruining what he already did in the previously with Tony Stark.
Mhm.
And I think they will figure it out. Like I think they have an idea, they have it ready to go, or they wouldn't be doing this. So I trust the process, but I'm very worried.
Okay. Yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, cautiously optimistic, I guess, is what I am at the moment.
I would have been more. I would have
But
been.
but I am. Would it be lying if I wasn't? If I didn't say I was very excited?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been freaking out more if the Russos were not helming this project.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think he has to play this role kind of like he did in Oppenheimer. Like he can't be quippy and
Yeah.
Tony Stark. He needs to be like resentful that he's not the smartest dude in the world. Reed Richards is smarter than him. He really just needs to play it kind of like he did in Oppenheimer, but just straight up evil, and just envious. So yeah, is anyone off the table for this movie? Like any actor
Secret
that's been in the MCU, between these Final Avengers movies.
We talked about Tony probably being off limits.
Yeah, I think Steve Rogers is probably still off limits, but I'm not 100% confident in that. Scarlett Johansson I could see coming back.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's really off limits.
They could give us a
Especially
different
now, especially
Steve,
that-
maybe.
What's up?
They could give us a different Steve, or they could pull Steve out of the past timeline for one more.
Yeah.
Or we could get Old Man Cap.
Yeah. Who, Joe Biden?
Yeah. Aviators and all.
Oh man, he did look like Joe Biden too with the old man.
But yeah, I mean, Batista has he clearly said he was done after Guardians 3, as did Zoe Saldana. But they're like the only actors I could think of that like definitively said they're done. Elizabeth Olsen has made it pretty clear she wants to be done. I'm not sure if she necessarily is.
I don't think that means anything.
They're going to throw so much money at these people. Even if
it's not like it's a whole
roles.
Yeah, like they just need them for a couple of days. They don't need them for like a whole movie that's starring them. So
yeah,
it's a lot less of a lift. I do think, I mean, for how stuffed Secret Wars is supposed to be, I mean, the Russos is like, they handled Endgame, which was so stuffed so well that, I mean, I feel more confident about the ability of Secret Wars to juggle so many characters.
Yeah, between two movies, they can pull it off.
Do you think that there's a world where a year from now Marvel says Secret Wars is now part 1 and part 2?
No. Like they do a reverse situation of what they originally said. Like
they still have Doomsday,
where Infinity War was going to be part 1, and
Yeah.
Infinity War Part 1 and then Infinity War Part 2.
Yeah, that Secret Wars just gets broken up into 2 actual films that come out 6 months apart after Doomsday.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think,
just because.
Yeah, I mean, I think in reality, probably Doomsday and Secret Wars is like Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be one long story over 2 films.
Hopefully this doesn't kill the Russos, because I know they were like dead after the Infinity War and Endgame back-to-backs.
Money is a motivator.
Yeah. All right. Well, in 2 weeks we got D23, so there will definitely be some announcements there as well for the MCU. So maybe we'll talk about that in our next episode. But I think that's all we've got for today regarding our main topic about the future of the MCU and Deadpool and Wolverine. So thank you again for listening. Please like, follow, subscribe. And if you'd like to know how this summer's films have been performing at the box office as we head into August, particularly now that Deadpool and Wolverine is out, and how they're impacting our summer box office pool as we've officially entered the final stretch of the season, just stick around for some quick end credit chatter. All right, boys. So I got the numbers through Friday. Don't have this weekend's numbers yet, but do we officially have a $200 million weekend? We could probably look it up right now. We do. We have a $200 million opening weekend. We don't have like the exact number, but it said it's definitely 200 million plus. So good for Deadpool and Wolverine. Biggest R-rated opening of all time by far, over Deadpool. Was it Deadpool 1 or Deadpool 2 that previously had the record?
I thought it was Deadpool 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was by like 20 million. Deadpool. I think it's actually Deadpool 1. And this is why we fact check. Yeah, Deadpool 1 was the biggest with 136 million to 125 million for Deadpool 2. So
Okay.
mass, or 132 million to 125. Big jump, $70 million jump as far as the R-rated opening weekend is concerned. Let's not pretend movies aren't playing all days on Thursdays, though. That's something we didn't talk about when going through box office history in our episode a couple weeks ago, that now opening weekends are essentially all 4 days, which is because of the previews. Meanwhile, when Deadpool opened in 2016, its first showing probably wasn't until 7 p.m. But whatever. Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine had the sixth biggest opening day of all time with 96 million. The only films to open higher were Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Infinity War, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. All PG-13 rated films, no surprise there. Mostly in the either in the MCU or World of Star Wars. Now, as far as the box office pool is concerned, a reminder is that the number is ultimately being cut in half by one of Deadpool's swords. So what looks like 96 million only is 48 million as far as the pool goes. But you're still going to have a nice $100 million weekend, based on it grossing over 200 million this weekend, Doug.
Yeah.
So that's big. Some other box office related news. Twister's overperformed with an $81 million opening weekend last weekend. That's about double the 41 million of the original back in '96, which at that point in time was the sixth biggest opener of all time. How times have changed. 81 million is nowhere near the sixth biggest opener of all time as of now. As we just talked about, Deadpool and Wolverine likely is with over 200 million. Inside Out 2 is now officially the biggest animated film of all time, both domestically and worldwide. Long Legs, which none of us drafted, has passed Parasite to become the highest grossing film in Neon's history. So that's pretty huge. We whiffed
I'm
on.
not really sure I understand that one.
We whiffed on that one with none of us drafting it.
Apparently, it's not even good.
It was good, but it was not.
It's not really a horror movie.
Good as the hype.
I'm hearing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like a procedural kind of, very Silence of the Lambsy.
I thought it was good.
But with some wacky stuff in the third act. It was a good movie. It just wasn't as good as the hype.
The
Like
marketing
made
was
us lead to believe that 100% on Rotten Tomatoes going into the week it came out was misleading. And then otherwise, Despicable Me 4, it's just shockingly consistent. This franchise, it's going to have a total between 300 and 400 million. That's inevitable. It's approaching 300 million as of like the end of this weekend. So, and still doing nicely. So, no real surprise there. As far as each of us goes, Corey's at 489 million with 3 movies still to come. Borderlands, Alien Romulus, and The Crow, and still making money from Despicable Me 4. Doug, I think Corey might have been in first place or in second place for like a day or two. And then Doug, you got right back into that second place spot. Thanks to Deadpool and Wolverine. But you still have its entire run after this weekend, or even including Saturday and Sunday, because that hasn't been included in this total yet. Your $521 million total. But you got the rest of that. You've got Harold and the Purple Crayon, Trap, and It Ends With Us. 2 of those have breakout potential. And then with me, I've crossed the $1 billion mark at 1.03 billion. Thanks to Twisters. I've still got Inside Out 2 making some money. And then I've got Blink Twice coming out in the end of August. Yeah. I mean, based on what I'm looking at, based on Friday's grosses, I got a $500 million lead. So that has me feeling comfortable, but still not like fully comfortable, because I think, Deadpool and Wolverine could pull another, I don't know, 200 million. Then again, I think Trap and It Ends With Us both have potential for $100 million grosses.
Are you saying 200 million after it's been halved?
After it's been halved.
Okay.
The Deadpool movies, despite the X-Men movies having really bad legs, the Deadpool movies all had relatively low $100 million opening weekends, and all made over 300 million total, closer to 400. So they got like 3 times.
You're thinking Deadpool
essentially have 3
times.
Yeah, as of now, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's got a 3-time multiplier, 600 million. It's the last major movie of the summer, other than some counter programming movies like Trap and It Ends With Us. And then really the only other one that has like guaranteed money coming to it, and is not necessarily counter programming. It's a major franchise. But that doesn't open for a few more weeks. So I think Deadpool and Wolverine can ride it out for the rest of the summer and do pretty well. But we'll see how Twisters performs the rest of its run now that Deadpool
It'll do
out.
well.
Because Inside Out is towards the end of its run. So it's really Twisters. I probably have another 100-something million in the tank, I would guess, from the rest of my stuff. And I'd say, I don't know exactly what you got, but I can see a world where you've got $500 million, maybe more. So
Yeah, I think it's pretty much over. But
it probably is, but well, you never know.
Yeah, I would need something crazy to happen to get you.
Yeah, I know
Like
it ends with us is doing crazy pre-sale numbers, respective to other female like book adaptations that aren't like Twilight and stuff like that.
Yeah, the projected opening is still pretty low at 20 to 30. opening weekend. So
I mean, Crawdads opened to like way less than that and made almost like 100 million, right? That was the movie I saw it being compared to.
yeah, that wound up doing okay.
That made 90 million off a $17 million opening weekend.
Yeah,
Trap will depend on if the reviews are strong and if it's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie people like.
yeah.
But it
I'm
does seem
ultimately-
like people are excited for it.
I think if we didn't have Deadpool, I'd have a shot at beating you. And even if it like, because
We didn't have
probably would have
Deadpool.
gotten,
I think you would definitely win.
but without, I mean, with it being halved, I guess I didn't expect Inside Out 2 to be anywhere near as big as it was. So that was
No.
kind of a surprise.
We knew Deadpool Wolverine was going to be huge. Inside Out 2, we did not know because of Pixar's history since 2020.
Yeah, I had it around 300, 400. So 600 just kind of took it by surprise. And then Despicable Me, 300, 400 sounds right. So it sounded like halving Deadpool if we thought it was going to make around 600 seemed right. But
Yeah. But I mean, you got
Well-
massive numbers from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and Bad Boys, like 190 something, 170 something.
Yeah.
If made over 110. So like Ryan Reynolds have a good summer. So like you definitely, regardless of if you win or lose, you had the best draft, in my opinion. And Corey, you just got unlucky with Furiosa not working. It's weird that the movie that does the Mad Max homage is just blew away Furiosa's total in its opening day.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
yeah, they even called it out.
Yeah, exactly.
It is crazy.
They're like, can we do this? Can we do Mad Max?
But yeah, we'll see what Alien does.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a $500 million movie.
I'd be happy for an R-rated sci-fi alien horror movie to blow it out of the water. But yeah, we'll talk in a couple weeks when we do our next episode. By that point, we'll have a much better idea of where Deadpool's going to fall, where Twisters is going to fall. Harold and the Purple Crayon will have opened. Trap will have opened. And then it'll likely be the opening weekend of It Ends With Us and Borderlands as well when we do our next episode. So we'll have an idea of their opening weekends. Yeah, anything else you guys want to add?
No?
All right. Then as always, this has been Corey, Doug, and Murph at Live Breathe Film. We'll see you again next time, film fans.
Bye.